Up to the 30, the 20, 10, 5. Torrey Horton back to the end zone.
48-yard play. Guess who? Bonnie up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Third down so far. A little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty. Give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to pin it in. Runnels. It does. Runnels stays up. The Suns offense 4-3 wheels. Incredible effort for Runnels.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, and we are excited to bring you another G5 college football coverage week that you love each and every week. I butchered that. It's been a long day. It has been a week for this Monday, but I am Luke. I am joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, or retweet. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review.
All right, let's jump right into week 3. It was a big week 3 for the G5 this week. So take it away, Luke. What do we got?
All right. Well, we got Arizona State at Texas State. That happened on Thursday. We had it was a really good one, but the bad guys, I guess, win this one. Forks up. Arizona State wins 31-28, and Texas State had their chances.
Absolutely. They the fourth quarter they did not play well. I want to say they had a fumble and then an interception, and they just they gave it away in the fourth quarter, so to speak. I didn't feel like Arizona State was doing anything special. They just didn't make the mistakes that Texas State did, and that they definitely let one slip away, and that one could come back to haunt them, right? You see UNLV with those 2 wins. You see Memphis beat Florida State, and so that loss to Arizona State could certainly come back and haunt them for that G5 automatic berth. For their sake, I guess they're hoping Arizona State wins the Big 12, right? And then they say, "Hey, we lost to the Big 12 champion." But yeah, they definitely let a big opportunity slip away Thursday night.
But then the good guys get one. You got UNLV at Kansas. UNLV wins 23-20. What do you make of Matthew Sluka? I mean, he's just not throwing the ball a lot. Running the ball, do you think that's going to be a reason for UNLV to not win the Mountain West, to not be maybe one of those? I mean, they're beating P4 opponents, but I just think of what that. You think of the voters and okay, well, they didn't put Florida State in last year, even though they deserved it. It's but it was kind of oh, that quarterback play, Is that what's honestly keeping them out of the top 25? Is just because it's an unsexy play that they're doing? What is?
I mean, yeah, they're just playing solid football, right? They're playing great defense. They're controlling the ball with the running game. But to your point, it's going to be interesting to see if they get into a shootout, what's going to happen, because Saluka does seem to struggle with the passing game. And but they haven't needed that so far. But yeah, you got to think at some point, one of their games in the Mountain West, they're gonna it's gonna become like a shootout, so to speak, right? You got Boise State, you got San Jose State offense is looking really good, and so Fresno State, another one, right? At some point, I just feel like they're gonna have to pass the ball more than they have. And maybe it might be there might be a night that their defense just isn't up to par. They've been playing excellent defense so far. So I mean it's working, but we'll see if it'll continue. But it's definitely interesting to see what'll happen when they get into a game where they've got to throw it around a bit more than they they have so far to this point.
And then Arkansas State goes to the Big House. They lose 28-18. Harden Jr. had a nice game. Only a couple catches, 3, but had the 52 yards, 2 touchdowns, made him count. They were able to turn over Warren 3 different interceptions, bring in Alex Orji. He goes 2 for 4 for 12 yards and a touchdown. Again, Michigan's not going to be anything special, but this game was a lot closer than I kind of anticipated. I kind of figured they would use Mullings to run the ball a lot more. He had 153 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. But yeah, that one was a lot closer than I anticipated.
And I think the final score looks closer than it was, because they took out so Jalen Rayner took a seat on the bench. They put in Timmy McClain, and he led them to 2 touchdown drives, both to Reggie Harden. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic moving forward, right? That, McClain looked really, really good. Rayner did not look so great. Could be a quarterback change coming for Arkansas State. Something to definitely pay attention to. I guess the narrative that I heard after the game was, hey, if Timmy McClain had played all the whole game, Arkansas State might have won. Kind of what people were saying. So I don't know. I didn't watch the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I did not watch the game either, but you prep for one quarterback and you bring in another quarterback. It kind of changes things a little bit. Oklahoma State puts a trouncing on Tulsa, 45-10. Oklahoma State just wins big. I don't think there's a lot to talk about in this one.
No, I mean, I think Tulsa's a good team. I think they're, give them another year or so, and maybe they can compete with Oklahoma State.
Memphis at Florida State. This was a game all eyes were on. 20-12. Memphis goes into Florida State and wins. Again, not maybe as sexy of a win as we thought preseason of what this Florida State team would look like. I guess what do you think would have hurt Memphis more, losing at Florida State, or it's not like winning was going to hurt them, but it's just like, I don't know. It just feels like if they would have lost, it wouldn't have been like, oh, you lost to a P4 team. It would have been like, oh, you lost to Florida State.
It would have hurt. It would have hurt them really bad. I think if they lost that game, it would have because preseason, right? We're talking about how it's going to be a signature win, and now at this point, you're if they lose, they're screwed because people are going to say you lost to a terrible P4 team. So at the end of the day, they got the job done, and so I'm happy. Maybe it's not as big a win as we had hoped for preseason when we called Memphis beating Florida State, 3 months ago. But at the end of the day, they got the win, and I guess that's what matters the most.
So at this point, it's noon. It's noon o'clock for, I guess, me. But we've had games on Thursday, Friday. We said that there were going to be 3. There was a potential for 3 G5 over P4 wins. That would have been the 3rd. So we're sitting at 2. But what do we got later on? We're going to have to wait a little bit later. But Cincinnati plays at Miami of Ohio. We thought that this could be one, but Cincinnati pulls out the win 27-16. And again, a game that we thought was going to be a little bit closer, at least more fireworks, ends up Texas Tech just scorches, beats the brakes off of North Texas. It was pretty much done at halftime. It ends up to be 66-21. Texas Tech wins.
It was done early. It was done really early, man. Chandler Morris threw several interceptions in the game. The defense did not play good. Yeah, man. I thought North Texas would give them a better run than they did.
And then I did not get to watch the Tulane Oklahoma game, but I thought that game would be closer than maybe the 34-19 score, just because of how they played against Kansas State. But Oklahoma just has athletes. Like I said, they win 34-19. I mean, it didn't even feel all that close from the parts of the game that I was able to watch. Were you able to watch any of this, Justice?
I did not watch the game, but just kind of like looking at the stats and such. Like I don't know. I think Oklahoma's going to be in for a rude awakening in the SEC. I have not been impressed with the Oklahoma offense at all. But I did think Tulane would give them a better game than what it ended up here.
Yeah, based off like how their offense has been going, like like you said, I thought there would be just a closer matchup, I guess. I just don't think their offense right now is clicking there for Oklahoma, and it's not that explosive. But then we finally get our third G5 over P4 win, 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Vanderbilt at Georgia State. Vanderbilt, not sure how much money they paid Georgia State, but they come in there and Georgia State gets that 36-32 victory, and one that we marked down on the schedule for another potential P5 or G5 over P4 win was Toledo at Mississippi State. And this one wasn't particularly close. You mentioned Tucker Gleason as your offense player of the week. Toledo goes in to Mississippi State and wins 41-17. That gives us 4. I don't think I saw 4 coming. I thought UNLV had a really good chance. I thought Texas State had a really good chance. Memphis, I felt pretty good about. Toledo, I felt pretty good about. The Georgia State one caught me by surprise. So
Yeah, it did because like Vanderbilt, like they're a better Vanderbilt team than they have been in years past. I don't know that the SEC that they're a better team in terms of SEC quality, but I think overall they're a better team than the normal product that Vanderbilt puts on the field. They beat Virginia Tech in week 1. Virginia Tech is a pretty decent team. So this is a decent Vanderbilt team, and and Georgia State's had a lot of change, a lot of turnover, both coaching and personnel. And like, if you had told me like Georgia State was going to beat Vanderbilt in Dell McGee's first year, I would have told you were crazy. So, shout out to Georgia State, man. They came and they played, and they played their butts off, and they beat a pretty good Vanderbilt team. So kudos to them. I'm not surprised Toledo won. I am. What does surprise me is the score, right? Like you said, not close. I thought Toledo would have won this game like 41-38, something like that. I never would have guessed 41-17. Mississippi State, Toledo looked good. Mississippi State, not so much.
all right, well, let's get in some to their G5 matchups. All right, so we got App State at East Carolina. App State wins 21-19. I did a lot of traveling. I wasn't able to watch a lot of games, but this one surprised me. I mean, East Carolina defenses, they're good. Offense,
Yep.
not so great. I'm starting to just question a lot of things this year. One of which is App State. And I thought, they would be, one of those teams to beat. And they're winning games, but they're just not winning like I thought they would.
Yeah.
And I guess it's better to win. But I thought the Clemson game would be a little bit closer. They get trounced, get it. But I thought this one would be a get right game here. And I'm not so sure I got that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. App State's a team that I think we both really liked. I think I liked them even more than you in terms of their outlook for this season. And I didn't expect them to beat Clemson, but I thought it'd be a competitive game, and it was not. And I would have thought they would have been able to handle East Carolina more so than they did on Saturday. Like you said, the East Carolina defense is pretty legit, especially that defensive line. App State they got at the end of the day they got the win, but it was not impressive by any means. So be interesting to kind of see like how this season plays out. Last year App State kind of started playing better defensively as the season got on. went along, and so I don't know. Maybe things will eventually start clicking for them, and the App State team that we expected will show up here soon.
And then we had Florida International at Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic wins this one 38-20, and they got that run game going, but not by the guy that we thought it would be. Were you able to watch any of this game?
Well, they did have so both Zoo Mobley and C.J. Campbell both had good games. Zoo Mobley
Just got
had
the touchdowns.
yeah, but Zoo Mobley had I want to say he had like a I don't know like a 70-yard I think touchdown run, and so that's where a lot of his yardage came from. C.J. Campbell was used in the passing game as well. But yeah, the story of the day was that Florida Atlantic running game. I thought this game would be a little bit closer than it was. But hats off to Florida Atlantic for showing up. That's a kind of a big rivalry game for these two schools, and a big win there for Florida Atlantic.
And then we have UTEP at Liberty. Liberty wins 28-10. Again, another school, talk about just kind of disappointing. I mean, not that, we were thinking Liberty would be the representative for the G5, but we thought that they would have a really, really good chance. They're not playing like they deserve it. I just I've been hyping up in my head this App State Liberty game and how this is going to be that huge game. And now I'm just it's just two, in my eyes, two underperforming teams that are still good. They're just not living up to my maybe expectations that I had for this year. I'm hoping they get things going this week, but yeah, Liberty not looking great.
Yeah, I agree. Quentin Cooley, like I said, saved them 2 weeks ago against New Mexico State, and if he's out for the year or an extended period of time, I don't know that necessarily is going to be good for Liberty.
And then we got Western Kentucky at Middle Tennessee State. This is the one that we just went bonkers, 49-21. These are the kind of games that we expect, but honestly, I didn't really expect it. Middle Tennessee State hasn't been really clicking yet. We finally get Omari Kelly breaks out. Auburn transfer, if I'm remembering correctly. He got 2-3 touchdowns this week.
He had 200 yards and I think 2 touchdowns.
Broke out, and then obviously you get TJ Finley gets hurt, bringing a backup quarterback. Caden Veltkamp goes bonkers, whatever it was, 27 for 30, 5 touchdowns, I think, or rushing. I don't know. It was this is kind of what you expect for these games, and I thought Middle Tennessee would be better this year. Again, talk about my expectations. Just things aren't clicking quite right yet. I'm still hopeful that they'll get things turned around here by the end of the year. But Western Kentucky might be a team that is better than I thought. I mean, win totals beginning of the year, I think had them at 7 or 7.5 wins over under. I would have taken the under, but they might have things figured out. And honestly, Liberty's leaving the door open for Western Kentucky to maybe win that conference.
The one thing I guess is a little surprising. You're looking at the stats. Middle Tennessee had a good game in terms of statistics offensively, but they couldn't get into the end zone. Right, that part surprised me a little bit. I'm not sure why that was. I didn't get to watch the game, but just looking at the pure stats, you would have thought they would have scored more than 21 points.
And then Hawaii at Sam Houston. Sam Houston wins 31-13. Sam Houston, a team that I was big on this year. They are proving to be a force to be reckoned with there, and excited to see how the season progresses for Sam Houston. New Mexico State at Fresno State. This one was a close one. Fresno State wins 48-0.
I think we were fooled by that Liberty game, right? So this game just makes me think, man, Liberty is not, just makes Liberty look even worse, right? Because they should have lost to New Mexico State 2 weeks ago, and New Mexico State just got trounced by Fresno State.
Yeah, and Fresno State looking good. Team last year that didn't really have, if I'm remembering correctly, did not have a lot of offensive line injuries, and they're running pretty good right now, clicking on all cylinders. Things are looking good for Fresno State and their path there to the Mountain West Championship.
One thing before we move on to week 4, one team that we talked about last week that we were looking forward to seeing what they did this week was Rice, and they looked awful. They looked awful against an awful Houston team, and so like I think it's safe to say like we were super high on Rice, but for whatever reason we were so wrong, man. Like because they have not looked good at all. Like I mean, Houston is not a good team, and Houston beat them pretty soundly. So I don't know what's going on there at Rice, what's happening, but man, like had such high hopes and expectations for them this year, and they are. I think it's safe to say. I mean, they just turn things around, but I don't know. It'd be a pretty remarkable turnaround if they make it to the AAC championship game, like we thought maybe they possibly could, have kind of as a dark horse.
Absolutely. The mute button, undefeated. Come back and join us next week as we discuss what happened in week 4, as well as look forward to week 5 of the 2024 season. And as always, we bring you up to date on all the latest news and happenings in the world of the G5 college football. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like, subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, a like, and a follow. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and review. Thank you all for your support. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.
First